Hello folks, I'm welcome to Tippcast with myself, Shane Stapleton, and Head of Sport and Anina Guardian, Shane Brophy. Shane, how are things with you this morning?
Good now, good. We have an All-Ireland final to look forward to, not involved in it ourselves, but geez, I tell you, I was just saying it in my column. She said that semi-final weekend is it's nearly one. It's nearly one they should be selling tickets for now for next year, just so people can go. And it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. I was in both of them.
Yeah.
And, I think everyone's kind of said it at this stage. The attendance that was there at the first one between Clare and Kilkenny wasn't quite where you'd want it to be. But the atmosphere for Cork against Limerick, Shane, it was absolutely out of this world. As good as anything you'd ever come across.
Yeah. The Saturday games are always a harder sell with people at work and stuff. And we know, I suppose, further reinforced this Kilkenny support is falling off a cliff. I don't know what's happening down there. It's mad, but that there should be a ticket package for people to attend both games of the weekend. Maybe €10 off if you buy a giant ticket or something. Because I think that should definitely be something they should be looking at going forward. Set aside 5,000 or 10,000 tickets at the start of every year and said there's a special package there if you want to go next year for the two games. And it's there's no doubt about it. Hurling fans will go to watch two. There's been very, very off the top of my head, there's been very, very few bad semi-finals since this hurling semi-final weekend came in.
Yeah, Gary, what did you make of that semi-final just gone?
Yeah, the Sunday one was a lot better than the Saturday one, but it just had everything. And it's following up from Páirc Uí Chaoimh in the Munster Championship. You're there's no way in hell this is going to be just as good as Munster, but Jesus, it had everything. As a neutral, I was nearly cheering Cork on, it was tipped as playing. Nothing against Limerick, but it's always good seeing, I suppose, the Kingpin's been taken down. But no, listen, Sunday was class. You clocked Jordan, Croke Park and Dollar last Sunday, so it was a feast of hurling.
Yeah, no, Shane, what do you think in terms of Kilkenny? That's 9 years now without an All-Ireland, which is as long a barn run as they've ever had.
Yeah, I think their aura is gone now. So it is. I thought there was still an element of it there for the last few years, even though they weren't winning All-Irelands. They're still winning Leinsters, or still getting to All-Ireland finals. But just there's no doubt, the aura is not there anymore. The fear factor, you always thought with a 6-point lead last weekend that they'll do enough in the second half. Clare will come back, but Kilkenny will do enough. But what did they score? 6 points in the second half? 5 didn't score in the last 15 minutes. They're just the I suppose the talent area is dropping, and I think next year is going to be fascinating. Because if you just say TJ retires, Killian Buckley, Conor Fogarty, Walter Welch, I know the latter three are not starters, but that's a lot of leadership in the dressing room. And if all of them go at the same time, there doesn't seem to be any young leadership at the moment. Owen Cody's a fabulous player, and he got a wonderful goal last week. Jesus, I'd be livid with him for he was in a personal battle with Adam Hogan in the first half and losing that free for goading him. Jesus, that's under 14 stuff. I do think there's a leadership void coming in that team down the road, and it'll be a hard job for Derek Ling now to try and fill that.
And Gary, then if you're to look at Limerick, who obviously have been dethroned, the drive for 5 is over, etc. But when you look at some of the players they have coming through, Adam English, Aidan O'Connor came on, Shane O'Brien obviously has really established himself this year, Donegal O'Dowd, they've Colin Coughlin there. They won't be going anywhere.
No, it's frightening. They're favourites for the 2025 championship already. They have to be, and rightly so as well. Like like they didn't perform bad at all. Like I think I was looking at the Gaelic Statsman lads there on Twitter. They were saying their shot efficiency last season in the semi-final was 73%. It was 80-something% the year before. I think it was 47% at the weekend, which is just completely unlike Limerick. But they still performed well. Like 4 points before half-time, I thought that was a Cork were dead and buried. But just whatever happened in the second half, these things happen, but they're not going away anytime soon. And a lot of those lads that you mentioned got very little minutes as well. Like Donnacha Dálaigh was probably their best forward in the league. He was absolutely frightening. He's still only 21, 22. Adam English in, all these lads. No, they're not going away anywhere. I would be worried from a Kilkenny point of view, all right. Like if TJ and the boys do go, that is frightening because again, having those leaders around the place. But I'd say TJ has another year in him myself.
Shane, Willie Maher has left his role as Laois hurling manager after 2 seasons there. There's a couple of vacancies around the spot, and I'd imagine his name will be in the hat.
Yeah, I thought it was a strange one because like he'd gotten he had a difficult enough first year, didn't get to McDonagh final, kicked on this year, got to the final, lost so awfully, performed well enough, just probably on another day could have won it with all the chances. I suppose there's 2 things. Like there's rumours that maybe a couple of players are going to step away and maybe he just doesn't want to go down that rebuild job again. He's done it already. And then you look at the other thing. Is he being lined up for a role somewhere else? Like he's previously worked with Derek McGrath. Is Derek McGrath trying to get the band back together to go back into Waterford? Is Willie going to maybe try and get, I don't know how he would have his strong links with Kula if there is a Dublin vacancy. We're not saying there is one at the moment, but is he going to maybe try and get back in with Tip? Like there's no unofficially there is an under 20 vacancy because Brendan Cummins' term is up, but you would think if Brendan wants it, he's going to get another go at it. Like we're not. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't see I don't see him in the Galway side of things. If maybe it could be work, it could be nothing. But if there is an intercounty link, I'd say him playing some part in Waterford next year is probably the early favourite for me.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. Like it's 10 years ago that he worked with Derek McGrath and Dan Shanahan, and I remember being at a couple of matches. Like the Waterford team that actually knocked his Laois team out of the championship this year, there was only 7 points in it there was only 5 points in it for a finish. So that was a really strong performance from Laois that day. They were pretty sharp, quite good in some of the games I saw them in this season, and obviously came up short against Offaly in that McDonagh final. But what would you think, Gary? I wouldn't be shocked to see him in as straight up as manager of Waterford next year.
Well, that's where all roads lead. Like, because I know Shane said that maybe a couple of lads might step away, but I think Offaly and Laois were head above everyone else in the Joe Mac this year. So even if 2 or 3 lads did step away, you'd imagine Laois will be probably favourites for the Joe Mac again next year, and obviously got promoted into Division 1 as well. So look, again, we could be speculating here. It could genuinely just be personal reasons, work reasons, but then there'd be no crack if you weren't talking about it then. But like I have a feeling O'Donoghue is going back to Galway. So like it's either Dublin or Waterford. He obviously has the Dublin connections, you know all about that, Shane, and then back down to Waterford. So, but the only thing about Waterford is, are they going to go back homegrown? Are maybe they're sick of?
I think whoever's going to be Waterford manager will be a big name from their own county. That's not to say he mightn't have a role to play if he's, but then like if you're going back to second in command after being a manager, yeah, it's an interesting one. Maybe look, could be very, very genuine. Maybe he's taking time away, like, but yeah, I suppose there's a lot of moving parts. Like there's a lot of vacancies, like throw in Westmeath and Kerry. It seems like Kerry are not going to go for high profile. So there's a lot of vacancies out there at the moment.
Yeah, and just a final point on Willie Maher. He's only about a half an hour from Walsh Park in Waterford, based in Bennett's Bridge. So you know, in some ways the shoe would fit. Will we move on to the North Senior Championship? We might as well. Shane, I'll start off with you. A brave effort from Tipperary against Kildangan, but you know, didn't quite come out on top there. It was Kildangan again.
Yeah, no, kind of a dominant performance from Kildangan after the first quarter. Like they were suppose got off to a great start. It was 1-2 or 1-3 to no score up after 6 minutes. You think this is going to be one-way traffic, but Tipperary came back again. Sean Ryan, Jesus, he's had another brilliant campaign now for the club. And it was a 1-7 apiece coming up to half time. You're thinking this is going to be a ding-dong battle. But look, from there to the end, like Kildangan were very, very strong, particularly for the half-back line. Alan Flynn was tremendous. Joe Gallagher, Willie Connors. They were I would say they were clinical. Like they didn't do anything spectacular. They just ground Templederry down. They took a lot of Templederry's. They just reduced the amount of possessions Templederry had. Like they only held Templederry to 1-8 for the rest of the game. The goal coming late in the match too. But yeah, I just thought in terms of what you expect from a county champion in Kildangan, I just thought it was a ruthlessly efficient performance after about 20 minutes. Yeah,
were you commentating on this one, Gary, for Clubber?
Yeah, I was. Again, yeah, like Shane, I suppose, first 2 or 3 minutes after 1-2 to no score, you're like, Jesus, the gates are going to open up here. But in fairness, Templederry, they took control in the next 10 minutes. I think it was 1-6 to 2 points in that 10 minutes. They gave them a right game, especially in the first half. But the last 5 minutes, as Shane says, that's a perfect way to sum it up, just ruthlessly efficient. Like, efficient without being, I suppose, like they didn't get in probably 4th or 5th gear. They definitely didn't. But what kind of stood out for me was Shane Gleeson the first day against Ross Gray. He stood up, got 3 or 4 points in play. Conor Byrne stood up then the last day. He got 5 points, 4 from play, 1 sideline. It was an absolute beautiful sideline as well. Like Billy Seymour got 110 again. He got 3 or 4 points, 1-3 from play, and he's probably still quite by his own standard. So it was it was really impressive. And just back to Sean Ryan. Willie was kind of sitting in front of David Sweeney and Sean Ryan, but it didn't matter. Sean still picked off, I think it was a 1-5 or something like that. Again, he's got 3-7 in 2 games out from play for Templederry. He's absolutely electric. But Ada Ryan was very good as well for Templederry. I think Templederry have a lot to be positive about for the 2 North Championship games. They have a tough group. They play Killangan again in the county, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. But no, Killangan march on and just really ruthless again.
And on the other side of it then, Shane, Darren McCarthy on fire against Nina. Toomevara through.
Yeah, very, very good win for Toomevara. Like, yeah, you said Darrow, 12 points, 5 from play. But like, I thought it was a very, very good team performance from Toomevara. They looked to close down the space on Nina. I think Nina didn't look like they had the same spark that they had against Laura, but look, the Toomevara they're further down the road than we are. But just the closer I got to the game, the more I fancied Toomevara. I just said that they'd find a way to stifle Nina. Like they sort of like holding Jake Morris to 6 points was a win, even though Jake would probably look back and think, God, the misses he had in the first half were just unbelievable. Like easy shots by his own standard, and then he in the second half he scores ridiculous points from ridiculous distances. But look, I just think in terms of Toomevara off last year, in terms of kicking on, to get back to a North final, it's remarkable to think it's 12 years since the last played in the North final. And that was the day of Portrue won their only one. Like, so it's mad. And then you have to go a year before that since the last won it. Like, it's and then they still have 33 titles. Like, this is a famine for them. Like, so, like and I suppose considering the fact that Kildangan have lost the last 2 finals and 3 of the last 5 they've been in. This is Kildangan's 6th final in a row. I think this will be a right good North final. I think both teams are going to really go after this, just to them, because they have the tradition in it and they feel they haven't been involved in it for a long time in terms of finals. And Kildangan, you don't want to be losing finals. You don't want to get in the habit of losing North finals. So yeah, I think this is going to be a tasty final on Sunday.
Yeah, Gary, the likes of Darren McCarthy would have only been a pup the last time that they were in a North final. And like Shane had said there, Portrue had too much for them that day. How much fever pitch is going to be going on in Toom this week? Because I'm sure they'll want this title.
I think, again, the old cliche, inside the dressing room, they won't be listening to noise. Like, I spoke to Ken afterwards, and he was fair bullish, he was. But, like, the players won't listen to noise during the week. Look, the Guardian will be out there today and all social media promoting this. They won't be listening to any of that. But it was just from a Nina point of view. I'll go into him for in a second, but Nina, it was so frustrating to watch. Like Jake was inside in his own, and I have to give credit to Jake Ryan. Jake Ryan, lads, was just unbelievable for the first 40, 45 minutes. Nina eventually kind of got a bit of space for Jake in the second half. He had 3 points in play, Shane, I think, in the space of about 5 minutes. But Nina, the style of play was just so frustrating. Everything was through the line, and even when that wasn't working, they kept at it and at it. They eventually kind of put Mikey into midfield and half forward line. He picked up a couple of points in play. But Nina, they definitely, Jesus, it was so frustrating to watch him from a neutral point of view. But Toom did just, there's a dogginess in this Toom team as well. And I know last year you were slagging me because I was saying that they're definitely going to be ones for Dan Breen the next year or two. But like all you want is progression. Like they're not probably going to win it, Dan Breen. I'll say it again now this year, and don't pin it up in the wall. I don't think they'll win it this year. But they're just progressing at the right time and right pace. Kevin McCarthy could have got a man of the match as well. He was absolutely outstanding. He's so much skill and flair, but he's an absolute dog as well. And Conor O'Mara came off the bench, got 2 points in play, and set up a couple of scores. Like Darren Delaney came off the bench, David Nolan came off the bench. So much experience there, lads. Been really impressed with him. And for that final, there's a lot of pressure on Killangan. There's no pressure on Toom. Like Killangan, you don't be losing 3 finals in a row. And this Toom team is a nice young team. They're progressing at the right rate, and they have the right man over them as well in Ken.
Yeah, Shane, like, is the sky the limit for this Toom team? And do you agree that, you know, they're sort of on a trajectory now at this stage, and there's a bit to go yet before they reach their peak?
Yeah, like they can only build step on step. Like, and look, when you have Ken Dunn over the team, like who's won 11 North championships, like they don't fear. It's in their DNA, and it's in their tradition to be winning North championships. Even though none of these playoffs very well. Darren Delaney probably has one. Joey Malachny, just probably only a handful. Maybe Locke. No, probably might be a bit too young, but like they would feel that this is another step along the road, and they're sort of born to win North championships. When you win 33 of them, like they've probably won like a quarter of them that have been ever played. Like so. I just like the way they're just building. Like they haven't changed the team up too much based on last year. Barry O'Connell came in. He had a great first game against Ross Gray. Probably struggled a small bit the last day, but that can happen. Like you have Mark McCarthy had a great first day, quite enough the last day. Like there's always, look, every game is different. There's always be somebody, as you mentioned, Conor O'Mara coming off the bench had a very, very big impact as well. So look, I just think they're building nicely. You think there's an awful lot of these Toom lads have tasted nothing, only defeat against Kildangan. Under 20 minor up along Kildangan have had their number, but sometimes that can be put to an end. And we know, look, last year they played a county semi-final. Kildangan won well for a finish, but it was competitive for long stages. Like Kildangan just bubbling along nicely now. And Andy Lucknan is back. Conor Byrne, we saw fleetingly last year. Look, he looks like a lad that's really given them a strong option to start. And like when you were able to maybe hold Brian Malachny, and you were able to say to Brian Malachny, Brian, you're not a guaranteed starter. If you want to start, you got to work. Like, and then you see Conor Byrne coming in and scoring 5 points. That's going to shove it up to Brian Malachny in training and say, do you want your slot back? You got to work. Andy Lucknan, do you want your jersey back? You got to work. Like so. That's why I think they'll be, and plus the fact that there's 2 weeks to the start of the county championship, like both teams can really go after this on Sunday. Win or lose, they have time to recover before the county championship starts.
And Gary, what matchups would sort of you find tantalising heading into this game?
I suppose you have the obvious one of Darren McCarthy, obviously, but like a pointer, I think when someone wrote in there, Liam Ryan centre back, lads, he lowered that game for about, there was a period of about 15-20 minutes where like nowadays the centre back role is quarterback role. Most of them are free, but it's easier said than done. He used his time and his space. He bombed up the centre a couple of times. He set up a couple of scores. I suppose like you're looking at Dara, but I can't see Killangan going changing their plan just for Darren McCarthy. They didn't change their plan initially for Sean Ryan either. Willie was, instead of Alan Flynn being spare, they just left Willie spare on the right flank instead of Alan being spare down the centre against Templari. So I can't wait for it. Like, it's one of the most anticipated senior North finals I can remember in the last decade anyway. Killangan, I feel, will just have too much experience for this Toom team right now. They just find ways to grind games out. It mightn't be pretty, it could be open scoring, I don't know, but it's just it's an absolute tantalising affair on Sunday. I would probably give it to Killangan, but just by maybe 2 or 3 points.
You expect a big turnout, Shane?
I probably would, yeah. It's a double header in there if the weather is good. Like, there's what Donegal and Galway's on the telly. I probably won't impact too many people locally, but yeah, I know. Look, it's still an North final. Like the crowd in Cloughjordan last year, for the last couple of years for Nina and Killangan, have been pretty good. So I think we'll get a good crowd out. Like, there's no real recent tradition between these two. There is a little current of, I suppose, as I said, they played an awful lot of underage hurling, these two under 21s and minors, and Killangan always seem to have the upper hand, and I'm sure that'll probably grate Toomevara a bit, and they feel, okay, we're coming for you, you're getting closer and closer. Like, the matchups, like, the Darren McCarthy one is interesting. As you think that in the county semi-final last year, he played in the inside full forward line, and he had the Killangan full back line that fits. This year, he's playing out around wing forward. Which probably means Willie Connors or Joe Gallagher. You think that's a bad matchup for Killangan, but then Killangan could easily say to Alan Flynn, Alan, you tail him, we'll put Joe in centre back, and they won't really miss a beat. So, but it won't fall completely on Mark, I think, or on Dara. I think if Toom were to win, they need Mark McCarthy or Kevin McCarthy really to have a big game, and maybe somebody else like an Adam Hall to come off the bench, or Conor, somebody just does something that maybe is unexpected. Now, it's not on top of the leading players. Look, forget, like, Dara's only 19, lads. Dara's going to be playing midweek under 19 grade hurling. Like, he's still young. Like, you can't put everything on him. Like, and but I just think if Killangan are right, and I just think they just have with Sean Hayes, Billy Seymour, and like Willie Connors and score, Ty Gallagher and Conor Byrne now. I just think they have more of a spread of scores that you can depend on. Maybe I think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be any more than maybe 2 or 3 points. But I think Killangan, having lost the last 2 finals, I just don't think they'll want to make it a 3 in a row of North finals.
Yeah, you'd have to make them favourites there, but if Toom could do it, could be a bit of a coming of age performance. The North Premier Intermediate semi-final saw Silvermines beat Newport, and Burgess they outlasted Ballina. The finals this Sunday, Silvermines against Burgess. What did you make of the two teams coming into this, Gary?
First of all, the Burgess Ballina game, Ballina completely just left that game behind them. 6 points up, 15 minutes to go, complete control. Burgess brought Steve Murray out to the middle of the park to pick up a bit of loose ball, sprayed around the small bit. Tony Dunn, Bill Flack came off the bench. They started going direct and causing the full back line of Burgess absolute havoc. Johnny Mulqueen went back on Stephen O'Brien in the second half. Stephen got 4 or 5 points in play in the first half, just tearing the place up. Johnny Mulqueen didn't let him have a sniff in the second half. He got man of the match in the end. I was very impressed with Burgess in the last 15 minutes. Before that, they were at 6 and 7. So it was like they had no game plan whatsoever. When they got going, they were very impressive. Then on the Mines side of things, like, that's probably the youngest Mines team I've ever seen. A lot of the under 19s from last year, 21s that won the county last year, 1 or 2 lads that are on the Nina CBS team this year as well. It was really impressive from a youth point of view. Really ruthless. Jason picked off 5 from play. Conor McKelvey got 1-2. But the work rate from all, especially the forwards back, that's one thing I always kind of notice with a team. If the forwards are working hard and chasing, harassing, hooking and blocking, it always filters all the way back down. No, it was there were 2 classic games, but like the Mines and Burgess, like, you're talking about a crowd on Sunday, like, there's no love lost between the Mines and Burgess. And plus 2 teams, Burgess lost last year's final. They'd be very disappointed. The Mines haven't been in one in a long time. They'll both bring massive crowds. So, no, looking forward to that doubleheader now.
Yeah, and Shane, you'd know Burgess well last year because he met them and bet them in the final. Can you talk to us about them and getting back to this stage again?
Yeah. I covered both games this last weekend. I thought Burgess, look, as Gary said, like for 45 minutes, they were very, very average. I thought looked like they were stuck to their system, like working the ball through the lines and stuff like that, and getting clogged up in the middle of the field. And Ballina were sort of playing to a system, but they were working theirs pretty well, like because they were pulling out one of their corner forwards and allowing Stephen O'Brien run into the corners, and like he was terrific. Like for was it 12 points? I think he got 6 from play or 11.6 from play. He was tremendous. Like, and just around that three quarters mark, Johnny Mulqueen went to full back. Stephen missed a very scoreable free, and you just sensed the tide start to turn. Burgess got a couple of scores. He said and it was pretty simple. Like under the Ballina puck out, they just broke the ball forward and they won the breaks. Got the ball, drew fouls, got 65. Stephen Murray stuck him over. Then Stephen Kerwin came into the game. When they had to go along, they had Bill O'Flaherty and Tony Dunn inside. They moved Owen Hogan to wing forward, and Owen Hogan started winning possession. So like it was, you could see the Burgess supporters on the sideline for 40 minutes or something. Just let the ball in, let's stop over doing things. And of course, what happens? They put Ballina in the back foot. Michael Breen, who was just sweeping up everything at centre back, then had to be concerned with the two big guys behind him, and he was taken out of the game then for the last 15. And just, I was saying it last week. I said when we were trying to predict this game that Burgess were the safer bet. Ballina probably had the higher ceiling, and it came out like that. Burgess's experience was probably what got them over the line. The bit of smarts, like they went from 6 points down to 3 points up in about 12 minutes, and like it was only 2 late points for Ballina, got them back within 1. So you have to think, okay, while Burgess were second best for a lot of the game, they figured it out just in time. And the second semi-final, the Mines comfortable winners. I didn't think the intensity in the second semi was as high as the first. I thought there was more physicality in the first game. Second one, the intensity levels dropped a bit. I thought some of the first half was very, very poor. Like Newport was 1-9 to 4 points at one stage. But like Newport hit about 12 wides. And this is a Newport team, I think, had only 6 starters from the corresponding fixture last year. Like they're down to they're really rebuilding now again. And like Conor Mahoney's not there, Sean O'Brien's not there, Odin Floyd. Connor Floyd was a big loss. He was injured. But
Ryan is up.
Yeah, Pa Ryan. Like, but as Gary said, look, this is a young Silvermines team that they needed time to figure it out. And like you had like I thought Cathal Tracy in the middle of the field was super. Like I thought he was very, very close to Conor McKelvey for a man of the match. Just thought they were very, very energetic in what to do. Like they had a plan to have Michael Corcoran sitting in the sweeper. Andy Hayden and Oisin Murphy are very, very willing workers inside to get on the ball. And I just thought for Silvermines, like Jason still did what he did, 11 points, 5 from play, but everyone else chipped in with scores as well, which is encouraging for the Mines. So looking ahead to the final, like I think the teams met twice last year. Burgess won narrowly both times, but the Silvermines I think they're a better team. They're a better prepared team this year, more confident. But I just think Burgess maybe a bit of experience, a bit of physicality might sway it their way. Plus the fact they lost the final last year, I think maybe that bit of hunger to think, oh, we're not losing another one again could be the difference. But I do think this will be a very, very competitive affair.
Neck on the block there, Gary.
I'll take the 5th on this one. No, on a serious note, I do. Obviously, the Burgess team are more down the road than the Mines team. I think in 2 or 3 years' time, I think the Mines will be at a different level because there's so much winning underage coming through 17s, 19s, 21s in the last 2 or 3 years. And in fairness to Decky Corcoran, he's back this year as manager, and Decky's really like he's a good manager. And Noel Maloney's in coaching. Like they've the likes of Donna Cadroni's in his kit man. He's really good to have around the place. Cotton Gleeson, Shep is there, Donald Keogh. They've really good lads in a proper backroom team.
Yeah, you see, Declan has sort of got a lot of the lads that were really good at the great intermediate team. He sort of got the band back together, like
yeah. So. Exactly, and those boys just back in 2012, they were great lads in the dressing room. So, I would I would say Burgess for maybe a point or two. Joseph, it comes down to a proper dogfight, that small bit of experience, the hurt of last year, because they were unbelievable. Like they were so impressive in the North Championship last year. They just didn't show up for a small period of time in our final against Shane. So I probably would give it to Burgess by a point or two just on the experience, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Mines did. But again, look, the main thing is, like Toom, they're on trajectory as well. A lot of young lads coming through, so it's all about progress as well.
Yeah, it can be very cagey, because Michael Corcoran is going to sit for the Mines, Keith Nealon's going to sit for Burgess. Yeah. Who are Burgess going to put on Jason? Look, we all know that Jason Ford is the match winner. Jason has a game that I think Silver Mines will win. I don't think we know Stephen Murray is a match winner for Burgess, but a lot of it's from frees. Like, and I play it's like if you give him a free 100 yards in, there's fair chance he's going to score it. So, but I think this will be, and there'll be, as you said, I think there'll be a bit of needle in this too. Like, so with not saying, I just think, same with the senior final, a small bit of needle does absolutely no harm to a game, provided it doesn't go overboard. And sure, look, but if there's. And we know one man who will not let a match go overboard, and that's Christy McLaughlin. It's the right man to referee that Burgess Silver Mines game, because he will take nothing. And Gary, just on the one thing you can, and if they reinforce the two teams this year, if you open your mouth, the ball won't be moved 13; it'll be 30 yards up the field. So you really can't talk this weekend. If
you say hello to Christy, he might even move the ball up. But just on Jason, like Johnny McQueen is 100% going to pick him up. He picked him up in the 2 games last year. And I know he actually said to me at the weekend, like he's just gone to a different level. He's improving with his physique, with his hurling, everything. He's going to pick Jason up. For me, that's probably going to be the only actual matchup on the day. And Johnny will back himself to take Jason. And just on Jason, like he got 5 points in play and he was very good. But he wasn't that he was absolutely everywhere dominating, which is great for the Mines, because the Mines got 2-9 from play without him as well. Down through the years, the Mines getting 2-9 from play without Jason was unheard of. So I actually can't wait for Johnny and Jason. That's going to be an absolute class battle, it is.
Yeah, so sometimes, Gary, myself and Shane get gypped back for what we say and probably what Shane writes. Do you have to be careful at times when you're commentating on local games, who you say about what, or what you say about who?
Do you know what? I'm probably the most unbiased person ever. Honest to God, I'd never, because look, first of all, you have people paying to watch games. So if this isn't, no offense to Johnny Louie back in the day, it's a bit more professional, I suppose, at that. So I'd never be biased at all. Even doing the under-21 county final last year, you might have heard it in my voice, but I was smiling when that last minute point went over. Like I was obviously delighted, but you can't though, because you have to respect people watching in as well. So no, look, obviously I hope the Mines do win, but again, look, you're there to do a job first of all. So
tricky though.
It is tricky. But I'm not playing anymore, so it kind of takes that away. So yeah, so we'll move on from there now.
Okay, fair enough. So in the Premier Intermediate final on Saturday as well, Moneygall, or is it the Intermediate? Sorry, Intermediate. Yeah, how do you see that going? Moneygall already the holders against Portrue.
I haven't seen either. I'm just going on the reports. Just considering that Moneygall scored 8-25 against Shannon Rovers, like Joe Fogarty and Sean Kennelly, they're 2 county men really to the fore. I think Moneygall will be too strong. Like Portrue still a little understrength. Mark Henry is probably suspended. I assume he's suspended after being sent off against Burks again. I don't know whether Anthony Burke came on late, whether he'd be able to start, whether Michael Breen will be able to go. I think that they would really need Michael Breen just in that defence, maybe to pick up maybe Kennelly. I just think, and while Portrue, like John Sheedy, still scoring to a high level, I just think Moneygall probably have too many attacking weapons for Portrue to try and negate. So I'd fancy Moneygall here. But look, if there's one if there's one team that make fools out of us all over the years, it's Portrush. So, but no, I'd fancy Moneygall here.
Yeah, Gary, you can't ignore Sean Kennelly and Joe Fogarty, like the firepower that Moneygall have up front.
No, and come here, I did both semi-finals, and it was actually just a joy to watch Joe and Sean. And just on like the scoreline, it wasn't flattering. Like Moneygall could have had 10 or 11 goals. Now look, in fairness to Rovers, look, they were down a hell of a lot of bodies from that game last year. But Moneygall, again, like the Mines, but they have so many young lads coming through. They had lads in minors this year, 20s this year, seniors. Like that's unheard of Moneygall in the last 10, 15 years. They're really building. Like outside of Sean and Joe, you've Bob Kenny, Mark Fanning, like Aidan Ryan in the middle of park against Rovers, just controlled everything. He was unbelievable. Adam Hogan there as well, sweeping up. Brendan, he's back from Thailand. He was sitting in the pocket there, centre back. They should have too much legs for Portrush, but again, Portrush should not have probably won that game against Burskane with 14 men for 50 minutes. They shouldn't, but that's just Portrush. Now with Mikey Breen, he was suspended, so that's why he wasn't playing last year. So he's back. Anthony Burke, by all accounts, he'll be fine to start. To be honest, Darren in the goals, like Darren, that's not a bad thing. Like Darren was unbelievable against Burskane. Saved the penalty. Puckouts were like into 2010 final again. He was just, it's like he never lost a hurl. You'd have to go for Moneygall on what you've seen, the evidence of what you're seeing so far this year, and the ammunition that they have. But again, it's just if Port won, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And it sounds like you're sitting on the fence, but you're not. You can just there's not every club that has the mentality that Port have. Like I spoke with John Sheedy after the game. They literally have 10, 11 lads training. They have a panel of 16, 17. That's all they have. And to go back to the well year after year, and all the like between Kevin O'Halloran breakings like this year, the two boys that gone away last year, they're not around again this year. They shouldn't be in the North finals, you know. But again, Port and I would go for Moneygall on it. But again, I would be surprised if the North final is going back to Portrush Saturday night.
Okay, and then Jane, any further point you want to make on this game, or
no, I think Moneygall, it's just like that was a big win for Portrush a couple of weeks ago, just to stop the rot, and like with the players that were missing too, like that'll galvanise them. And like I'm not sure, I know it was a bad leg break Kevin got playing soccer a few months ago, whether he'll be back for any part of the county championship, I'm not sure. I did see AJ Willis had transferred back, but he's gone in a 60-day sanction back to America. Maybe he'll come back and play some of the county championship games. I don't know, but I just look. I wonder, like Sam Madden has potential to be a big match winner for Portrush as well. I just think, like I think we're seeing it at a lot of levels that the players who get a full year with the county, and even just in terms of doing the S&C and training, like Fogarty and Sean Kennelly, just looked at a different sphere to the Shannon Rovers players. And I just think, but then Robert Byrne, like you would think Robert Byrne, pick your poison, Robert Byrne's going to pick up one of the other two, so that'll be a fascinating matchup in itself at the weekend as well.
Just on that, I don't know if he will, because you're taking your main man out of the centre, because Sean's going to be on one wing. He's not going, or Joe Folk will be on the wing. Like, are you going to take Robert out of the centre to go over and follow Joe? And then you've a big gap down there, because Shawnee Kennelly's going to be a two-man full forward line. So do you keep your main man down the centre to try to shore things up, or do you tend to go follow Joe?
I'd say Michael Breen would probably go on Kennelly. Yeah, it was like he's very,
and don't forget, Kenny Forkey wasn't playing against the Rovers either. He's back as well. So, but yeah, I know there's some serious matchups in it, yeah.
Yeah, just you mentioned the sanctions there, Shane, and lads heading off to America, obviously. Anecdotally, is there much of that around Tip there at the moment that you can think of, or North Tip?
Not much in North Tip, no, to be honest. Very few of the county players have actually gone. I think Mark Keogh, I think, is the only one I could think of from a Tipperary point of view. Maybe one or two of the footballers went, but very, very few have gone. I think Mine Temple too, he lost a couple all right, but I think in terms of North Tipperary, very few. Just looking back down towards mid-tip, up Lockmore and Mike Harkey, I think they were pretty much at full strength last week. In terms of availability, Ed Connolly was missing for Lockmore. I think he might be carrying a knock or something, but Upper Church are at full strength as well. So no, it's compared to a lot of, I wouldn't say the tradition of Tipperary players taking flight to America as strong as maybe the likes of Kerry and Galway and Donegal, where it nearly seems to be a summer tradition. Once you nearly have to go to your club over there to kick hurling or play football, like so.
Are you hearing much of it, Gary?
No, it's surprising. This has probably been the quietest summer in a long time. I think it was that Eamon Sweeney put a piece in the Irish Independent last night about players, the money that they're getting and everything. But no, it's been very quiet this year, because usually, especially when you're going through match programs, you're texting lads during the week for team news and everything. Oh, this lad is gone. But apart from Mine Temple 2 because I did that game against the Church a few weeks ago, I think they had 5 lads that were gone for the summer. Now they're back for the county, I think, but no, it's relatively quiet this year, which is great for clubs. But then again, if lads get the offer to go over for 60 days or 90 days and get a few pound in their pocket and have a nice summer, look, you can't blame them either.
It's hard beating it, actually, heading away for a summer. I only ever did it once. It isn't today or yesterday, but it's some crack. Honestly, it is. Shane, then you brought up the mid teams there. Lockmore, they're going to be up against Moycarkey in the mid-final. And Moycarkey haven't been there for 40 years.
No, I think it was there was a. We cleared. I think they haven't won it for 40, but they were in it 22 years ago. They lost a lot more in 2002, but no, like it's good. It's a good final. Like I saw a lot of both of these games last weekend. I thought Moycarkey were good against Brackens. I thought Brackens were terrible in their semi-final. Like I couldn't believe it. Like from the team that played very direct hurling against Holy Cross, they seemed to go back to their old ways of maybe overplaying the ball around the back, short pass, and it just allowed Moycarkey just to sit back. If the ball went in, they had numbers back, and they worked the ball up the field and scored 23 points, and only for the last minute goal, like it would have been a rout. So look, definitely Moycarkey came in in the long grass, and they were primed by Eddie Brennan, and they were ready to go, and they were excellent. Kieran Cummins, Kieran Morris, Kyle Shelley, like they were really, really good. So, and look, they're in the perfect spot now for the final on Sunday. They'll be underdogs now against Lockmore Castellani off the back of their win over Sarsfields. They came from behind to beat Drum and Inch last weekend, last minute score. It looked like they were going to leave it behind, like some of the missed chances they had in the last 10 minutes. It's like they're a lot like just Lockmore. If they're in a game with 6 or 7 minutes to go, their smarts are so good. Like they'll just get on the ball, they'll do things right, and they're moving nicely at the moment. There's no doubt about it. Like, and they look like they have everybody bar Ed Connolly at the moment. Like so, Eamon Kelly's getting a good tune out of them so far. Drum, Drum were very, very good for a lot of that game. I don't know, did they run out of a bit of puff towards the end? I don't know whether. I was surprised to see Seamus Callanan play 3 days after his wedding, and maybe the celebrations Thursday and Friday, maybe they came against maybe him and a few players towards the end. But look, I don't think Drum will be disappointed to have lost, but I think in terms of what they did for a lot of the game, I think they can take a lot of positives going into the county championship.
That game's on Clubber as well, Gary, on Sunday.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think there's 10 Tipperary games on Clubber this weekend. So it's 2 o'clock on Sunday. Yeah,
so, 2, yeah.
What do you reckon for that one, Gary?
Yeah, look, you have to go with Lockmore. Again, I'd echo Shane. Brackens was so impressive against Holy Cross. I thought Holy Cross would have bet Brackens, and you imagine to come out in a back-to-back performance. But no, fair play to Moycarkey. I didn't see the games. I was talking to a couple of lads about it, all right, and Lockmore, saw bits and parts of it. Just grinding down teams again. Like they were down the whole game, bar the last 2 or 3 minutes, and just the experience, just grinding teams down. So, and look, you're going to get a bounce factor off Eamon as well. Worked with Eamon years ago. He's an incredible man manager, and like for that group of players to get someone like him in, he'll only add extra percentage as well. So, look, they'll have bigger fish to fry with Danbury later in the year, but Lockmore should be winning that. Not handy enough, but Lockmore, look, they should be Moycarkey.
Yeah, great stuff, Gary. Really appreciate you joining us. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Gary.
Take care, lads. Bye-bye.
Okay, and just Shane, then, is there anything else in terms of the Tip club championship?
No, I suppose just to mention on some of the other finals, I suppose you have the mid-Premier Intermediate, you had Upper Church and Sarsfields. Upperchurch got a tough from Kilkenny last week in the semi-final, and look, Sarsfield got to the county final. They had a good win over Boherland, so I think it'll be a test for the Church. Out west, you have the West Premier Intermediate final. Go Cashel against Anacarty. Anacarty beat them actually in the group game last week, but both of them got through to the final. So, be interesting to see if Cashel can overturn that. And then you have down the south, you have the Swan against Kilkenny. And one thing is certain about the South Championship is the Swan are very, very good when it comes to the South and those derby matches. But Kilkenny look very, very sharp in their win over St. Mary's, but St. Mary's were weakened that day. So, and then you get Ballingarry and Kilsheelan in the Premier Intermediate final, in the Intermediate final. So, there's a lot of, I think all the divisional finals bar West Intermediate are on this weekend. So, and then you're only a couple of weeks away from the county, which is great.
Are you looking forward to the All-Ireland football semi-finals this weekend? Donegal against Galway and Armagh against Kerry.
You would, yeah. Like, provided we get some good games, like it's like Armagh and Kerry. Jesus, like it's
the Kieran Donaghy derby.
I have a feeling this is going to be very cagey. Just the way Kerry cut their cloth to suit their measure against Derry, and I think they're going to try to do it again. And I think that would be actually the worst thing for Armagh to do, because I think Armagh tend to come up short in a lot of these cagey affairs, whereas I think they have very, very good forwards if they only have more attacking intent. But then you have Donaghy, and it'd be interesting to see I'd love to see Armagh go for this. Like, don't just sit back like they did against maybe Galway other years or Monaghan when they get to Croke Park. Like they were only okay against Roscommon in the quarter final. I'd love to see them. Okay, if you are going to come up short, at least come up short playing or giving yourself a chance rather than maybe an 11 or 12 points each game, maybe going to extra time. Because I think that there's no doubt. I think they have as much attacking talent, I think, as Kerry do.
Well, like a lot of the Euros, high stakes stuff has been absolutely dreadful to watch.
Yeah.
But then maybe even last night, Spain against France, early goal, and it kind of derails the defensive plans of both teams somewhat. Because Spain have to come out. Maybe if we could get an early goal here between Armagh and Kerry. But I'll be honest, I expect it to be dour, defensive. I'm still looking forward to it. I'm going to be in at both games. Donegal against Galway, fairly fascinating because of the whole.
Yeah, I think this will be the best of the two, because I think there's a lot of lazy punditry going on that they're still associating with Jim McGuinness with what he did in his first term. They're not remotely the same team. Okay, they still get numbers back, but they counter-attack at wicked speed. And if we get this sort of a game where it's up and down the field, I think that plays into Galway's hands too. So I think Sunday's game is going to be super. I hope we get two really, really big crowds there. I know Donegal and Galway, I think they're really mobilising the troops. I suppose I think there was very good, and there was very good scheduling from the GA's point of view, putting the Armagh Kerry game on the Saturday. So you have Down and Laois, and of course Down and Armagh nearly joined at the hip. So you're going to get two games for the price of one, really, for a lot of those supporters of Down and Armagh. So,
but what about all this crack that the Tailteann Cup deserves its day and all that kind of stuff? No problem pairing it with a final here, whereas hurling had to go on a Saturday there one weekend.
I know. I'd agree with that. Yeah, no, I don't think the Tailteann Cup needs the Croke Park to itself. I think if you had the Tailteann Cup on its own, would you get any more than 15,000 at it? Probably not.
I just mean it having its own day in the calendar. So, like, if this was played in O'Moore Park somewhere, small and suitable or whatever, why isn't it getting its own full day to itself now? All of a sudden, it was so precious when it was up against hurling, but now it's no problem.
I'd be surprised if that isn't going to be done away. But I see there's a story in the Examiner yesterday or today about CCC proposals for next year. I don't know whether in terms of maybe tweaking formats. I think a lot of it maybe is the football championship. I really, really hope they don't change the football championship format. I think there was too much whinging and moaning, and I hope this talks that they'll go back to the old qualifier system. Like just like where you only get 2 chances. Like I think there's sort of a lazy, like when the football championship format was changed, it was changed to give teams more games. And now you hear this year, Roscommon lost 4 games before they got knocked out. So what? Like, sure, and even though I heard this week that Clare could win the All-Ireland by having lost 2 games, whereas Cork would have only, you have 2 teams in the final. But that's the format. It was never designed that there was if you lost a certain amount of games, you were automatically eliminated. Like, so, like, I think more games the better. Like, and look, then you get down to knockout stages. If somebody gets hot towards the back end of the season after losing 2 or 3 games, so what, really? Like, because maybe they've been missing key players early in their campaign and they come back just in time. Like, so.
Yeah, any amount of things can happen.
Yeah.
Just a reminder, Neil Guardian is on sale now, so there's plenty of previews of the upcoming club championships in there. Looking forward to this weekend then, Shane.
Yeah, no, look, it was I thought the club championship was slow to get going, but it's really I suppose bubbling up nicely, and I suppose we're building in towards the All-Ireland final. And I suppose, look, we still have a big couple of weeks for the Camogie teams as well, and just a touch on them. Like, I suppose probably a big surprise with Kilkenny losing to Dublin in the Camogie quarter-final last weekend. So that was probably the one upset. They get Cork, Tip get Galway, so I think that'll be a cracking semi-final in the 27th in Nolan Park. Like, both teams probably feel that they've sort of missed the big day over the last few years, and Tip and Armagh in the junior semi on Saturday week. And I suppose a shout out to the ladies footballers. They beat Laois last weekend to stay up for another year. Like, they improved as the year went on, so I think they'll carry a bit of momentum into next year.
Okay, well, look, that's it for the show this week. We'll be back again next week with loads to talk about then. Thanks very much, Shane.
See you.